Tonight, chaos on Capitol Hill. Good evening. I'm Sophie Erber. The House and Senate meeting for a joint session to certify the Electoral College votes. So what should have been a ceremonial event was interrupted by thousands of protesters storming the Capitol steps and some breaking into the Capitol building itself. According to the Associated Press, one person was shot. Injuries unknown at this time. President Trump and Vice President Mike Pence both calling on protesters to leave. We do have reaction tonight from some Siouxland lawmakers. Iowa Senator Joni Ernst also reacting on social media. I served in uniform to defend the right to peacefully protest. What's happening at the Capitol right now is not peaceful nor a protest. It's anarchy and a betrayal of the American ideals we all hold dear. My staff and I are safe. Thanks to Capitol Police for your selfless work, end quote. Nebraska Senator Deb Fischer also weighing in, quote, these rioters have no constitutional right to harm law enforcement and storm our Capitol. We are a nation of laws, not some banana republic. This must end now, end quote. We will have more reaction from local lawmakers coming up tonight at both 6 and at 10. We now return you to national coverage out of Washington, D.C. Please do stay with us. Thanks for watching.
Or trapped by their own failure earlier on to stand up for justice, stand up for the truth. And that's where we ended up.
Senator Merkley, thank you for your time today. Good luck going forward. Good luck getting back to work tonight. We're glad you're safe. I want to go back to Martha Raddatz in Washington, D.C. It appears that at least on one side of the Capitol, much calmer now, has been cleared. What's happening where you stand?
We just saw busloads of National Guard head into the Capitol grounds, George. There have been 1,100 D.C. National Guard called up and 600 National Guard from Virginia. We see FBI officers actually just inches from us here walking down Constitution Avenue, and we'll just follow them here. But those busloads are there. We assume they're going to clear out the last of the crowd because, George, it's now 6 p.m. There's a curfew in effect, and they've announced that anybody who's not out of there will be arrested. And there is so much law enforcement. Hang on. Hang on. We've got some more vehicles coming here. Let's get out of the way.
It's right now.
We saw those arrests earlier. We have armored police vehicles going down here. If you look down Constitution Avenue, it is all law enforcement. Coming up this way, going down that way. But again, those National Guard going right there onto the Capitol grounds. They are not armed. The National Guard is not armed. But those armored vehicles now heading into the Capitol grounds where the remaining rioters, those people who would not leave, and many who probably were part of that break-in. We saw a little earlier, they were hauling off some of those rioters. They were arrested.
Constitution Avenue, Martha, usually the site of the inaugural parade.
It is just appalling to look down Constitution Avenue and just see nothing but red and blue lights of law enforcement vehicles. There is a solid perimeter, it appears to me, from this place around these Capitol grounds now. Many law enforcement, Capitol Police, Metropolitan Police from D.C., police from Virginia, all descending on this area to set up this perimeter. Now, how they're going to get rid of those hundreds of people, they have definitely told them to clear out. We've seen no one come this way since 6 o'clock, no one walking down this way, trying to clear out that area. And in fact, we've seen some people kind of heading into that area.
Well, and we're seeing the National Guard now get off those buses at the Capitol, prepared for some sort. And we heard from Mary Bruce that the Sergeant-at-Arms believes the Capitol will be secured in the coming hours.
I think the inside of the Capitol has been secured. They announced that the inside of the Capitol has been secured. In other words, all of those rioters are out of the inside of the Capitol. I'm sure what they tried to do is go room to room before they would ever announce anything like the Capitol being cleared. The outside of the Capitol is definitely not cleared yet. I mean, we can still see a lot of those Trump supporters and those instigators as well still on the grounds. Those are the people who were remaining there after a lot of the protesters we saw had walked away, disappointed, by the way. They didn't really want to leave because they liked, they said, what had happened there today and that they had a perfect right to do that. But this is clearly the hour they're going to start trying to move those who remain. I think one part of the Capitol, and you've talked to Rachel Scott, obviously I haven't even seen her, she's so far away from me, but there's an area over on the other side that's cleared out. This side is definitely not cleared out yet. And I can't imagine they're just going to let these people leave. I mean, there's a curfew in this city. They're supposed to be inside. They're not supposed to be anywhere. So I don't know what they will do with those who remain, but I imagine there'll be numerous arrests here within the hour, George.
Martha Raddatz, thanks very much. I want to go back to Cecilia Vega. Cecilia, the president doubling and tripling down, and now a new tweet just 2 minutes ago where he talks about an election victory unceremoniously and viciously stripped away from great patriots.
George, I've covered President Trump for 4 years, and I'm speechless by this. I mean, as we are looking at these images of what Martha just described as an appalling sight unfolding in our nation's capital. You've got the president who is tweeting. He says these are the things and events that happen when a sacred landslide election victory is so unceremoniously and viciously stripped away from great patriots who have been badly and unfairly treated for so long. He tells them, go home with love and in peace. And then he says, remember this day forever. Yes, history is going to remember this day forever. There was no election that was unceremoniously and viciously stripped from anyone. This was a free and fair election, and it's pathetic that we have to keep saying that over and over. And you can't have it both ways, as we've heard from Republicans, from his allies, from people who are close to him, who have tried to get this message to the president that he is the one who started this, and he is the one who could stop it if he went on television and he said outright, leave and go home peacefully. That is not what he has said. He has not called on this to stop, and he doesn't get to have it both ways here. And then you've got the flip, George. Listen to this absolutely stunning statement that I can't imagine I'm going to read from a former president of the United States, former President George W. Bush, who just released a statement that is worth reading in its entirety. He said, "This is how election results are disputed in a banana republic, not our democratic republic. I am appalled by the reckless behavior of some political leaders since the election and by the lack of respect shown today for our institutions, our traditions, and our law enforcement." And I think as we are in this evening and we are talking about what happens next there on the Capitol and whether they go forward with this vote to certify the election tonight, the Electoral College votes tonight, and we've got these questions for the 150 House members who said that they were going to object and the 13 Republican senators who were going to object. Where were they before tonight? Where were they if they are going to change their vote, if they are no longer going to object, as we are starting to hear potentially this discussion that's happening behind closed doors right now? Do they get off the hook for what we're seeing here tonight? If they were planning to object in their votes today, and we are here right now, are they at least partly to blame for what we are seeing in the Capitol as well?
Cecilia Vega, as you were talking, we also just got a new tweet from the president's national security advisor. Only 14 days to go in this presidency, but he has apparently broken with the president on this as well, saying, "I spoke with Vice President Pence. He is a genuinely fine and decent man. He exhibited courage today as he did at the Capitol on 9/11 as a congressman. I am proud to serve with him." A break of sorts, of course. The vice president was doing his constitutional duty.
He was doing his constitutional duty. That's his job. The president had been pressuring him privately. The president had been pressuring him publicly. But is it too late? I mean, does Mike Pence, does Robert O'Brien, do they get credit for today saying that they did what the Constitution requires them to do, or that Robert O'Brien supports what the vice president did because that's what he is supposed to do? This is the oath of office that the vice president took when he took it 4 years ago. Do they get the credit now for not having spoken up? The president has been spreading these baseless conspiracy theories, these bald-faced lies about an election being stolen from him for 9 weeks now, and they're just not true. Court after court around our country has declared that there is no evidence of widespread voter fraud. I laugh at myself for having to continually say this for the last 9 weeks. It's just the facts. But the president has been spreading these lies, these mistruths, and his aides, including Mike Pence and Robert OBrien and people in the highest echelons of this administration, have stood by his side, and they have not spoken up. And so I think that there are serious questions for them as to whether they are part of what we're seeing here today as well.
Cecilia Vega, thanks very much. Terry Moran, Jonathan Greenblatt was on the program in our last hour saying that today's events are in some ways a bookend to Charlottesville, that those who are rioting will look back for years as a great victory. President Trump said there were fine people on both sides in Charlottesville. The tweet 2 minutes ago praising great patriots.
And that is why, George, what happens in Congress over the next few hours is critical. This lie, a lie that the Attorney General of the United States appointed by Trump said there was no widespread fraud, that his own head of election security, all those courts, this lie must be put down. Right? This notion that the Republicans were playing with fire, lies have consequences, as Senator Ben Sasse of Nebraska told his colleagues today in a statement. And the consequences we've seen. An incident like that, like today's, can become a triumph for a right-wing, fascistic, anti-democratic movement if it is allowed to fester, if it is not put down. What Congress does tonight in affirming the victory of Joe Biden against lies and fantasies and sedition is absolutely critical. If they show weakness, it will be a triumph for the forces that want to essentially ignore the election, destroy the democracy, and install Donald Trump as permanent president. This is a very critical moment, not just because of the sad scenes that we've seen, but because of what it can represent. Movements that are anti-democratic take strength from their martyrs. They take strength from their battles. And unless there's a united front against it, it can be very dangerous going forward in our politics.
The question is, will that united front be developed? We're seeing the Capitol right now. It's a little after 6:10 on the East Coast. A curfew has gone into effect across Washington, D.C. after this extraordinary day of violence at the U.S. Capitol. The Capitol under siege. Rachel Scott there in Washington, D.C. Have you noticed a significant difference in these last 10 minutes?
A significant difference, George. We have now seen most of the demonstrators and protesters in this area clear out. We are now completely surrounded on this side of the Capitol by federal authorities and a very large police presence at this point. We just heard the second announcement go off over the intercom telling people to clear the area, that the curfew is now in full effect, and if they fail to do so, that they will be arrested. Just dramatic scenes playing out. We have been here for hours. As you know, I was in Georgia just yesterday. I was on a flight back to D.C. first thing this morning. In front of me were several rows of President Trump's supporters that were coming here. They wanted to stand by him in this fight to overturn the results. This is normally an area where tourists come. This is normally an area where people come to see the United States Capitol. Today, it has turned into a scene of violence, intense clashes. We have watched media be attacked. We ourselves have been caught in some of these tense clashes with some of these demonstrators here. And of course, those images of that woman who was gushing out blood, appearing to have suffered from a tremendous wound here. Authorities have now taken back this area, George, but it took hours.
And they're hoping to get started on this debate tonight. Rachel, thank you. I want to talk to Congressman Jim Langevin now, Democrat of Rhode Island. Congressman, thank you.
So many questions the last few hours.
And I'm Sophie Erber. This is still live coverage of the situation going on tonight in Washington, D.C. Now, President Trump, as we've heard, has called on protesters to stay peaceful and go home. But one person has been shot, and we're learning now within the past few minutes that person shot has been killed. Lawmakers were locked down for several hours. Siouxland lawmakers sharing their reactions with us tonight as well. We'll bring you their comments coming up at 6 at 10. We now return you to national news as this story develops. Thanks for.
Does your home look like this? But